Young astronaut Riya wakes up on a space station resting on the surface of a planet the pioneer explorers have called Ash. She quickly understands that neither her own name nor the details of her arrival come to mind. A scar on her forehead is unexplained. In her head, nightmare visuals swarm and disembodied voices accuse her of what has occurred. A sudden warning from the ship's AI about an emergency threat compels her to get up and fix a system failure by reactivating the power supply of the station. As Riya travels through the station, she is horrified to find bloody smears on the walls and flooring. Soon she finds the body of a fellow crew member, draws a knife from the corpse, and goes on knowing all her crew colleagues are dead. She walks to an open hatch beyond which a stony terrain beneath a sky where ash-like flakes fall constantly extends. Above her, a huge tunnel-like opening of light gapes. A man's name comes to her thoughts. Brian. Her breathing becomes labored and she fights to return to the station where the life support system signals a dangerously dropping oxygen level. Riya attempts to understand what is going on to her, but distorted faces of her former squad flicker before her vision. Then a quick change to a pristine crew lounge where young people laugh and play a game. Kevin offers a pompous speech about success and Davis suggests a toast to Brian with 5 helpings of beans, prompting general hilarity. The crew celebrates, believing that Riya deserves the honor of being the first to foot onto the newly discovered celestial body, for it is the first time in years of searching that they have found a planet with an almost breathable atmosphere. In actuality, Riya reaches the medical bay and patches a wound on her neck with a bandage, then heads to the shower, trying to piece together her identity and the events that got her here. Later, she explores the station and finds the ship's log including information of the atmosphere's condition and the pressure levels in various compartments. Judging by the video footage, she had been working with plants, but Riya had no memory of this. Suddenly, the security system flags movement in Zone 1. Armed with the knife, Riya walks toward the source and strikes a figure in a spacesuit entering via the airlock. The stranger calls her by name and asks her to stop. Seeing her uncertainty, he introduces himself as Brian and explains that he arrived from the orbiting ship after hearing a distress call from here. According to him, Clark went mad, attacked the team, and killed everyone. Riya reveals that she remembers only fragments, visions, and the attack by the woman. She has no idea what is happening, who she is, or where she is. Brian activates a medical drone, explaining that their expedition and spacecraft are dubbed 7F. He realizes that Riya's memory has been completely wiped with even recollections of Earth missing. The woman is placed on a diagnostic table, and the medical bot begins scanning her body while Brian tells her that the previous 6 similar missions had ended in failure. Now all of humanity's hopes rely on the 7th attempt as Earth's resources are almost exhausted. If they succeed, they might be able to call this new world their home. At that moment, the Medbot's instruments pierce the wound on Riya's head, and seeing her in distress, Brian tries to encourage her. He says that he was intended to remain in orbit, serving as an observer for the base to react in time to any danger, which is exactly what he has done. Suddenly, Riya recalls a brilliant light in the sky, and Brian confirms it is their mothership orbiting above. While the Medbot works on treating Riya's wounds, Brian shows concern about her condition. Riya confesses that she had used a medical patch, which causes her to feel peculiar sensations, as if it periodically allowed her to recall parts of the past. Brian reminisces about how during their journey, the team addressed their motives for joining the space program. Riya had emphasized that it wasn't a sacrifice, but a quest for answers to the issues haunting the people of Earth. She was dissatisfied with the planet's present and determined to do whatever it took to save humanity. Brian notes that even with her memory loss, she remains true to herself and suggests she get some rest. But Riya cannot shake the thought of Clark, who might still be alive. If so, her oxygen supply must be running short. She desperately has to find shelter as sandstorms here are extremely dangerous. The woman clothes up and ventures out in quest of her colleague. She remembers seeing a drone she had planned to control before everything went wrong and hopes to locate it. As she examines the environment, Riya considers the possibility that Clark may have been infected by an alien virus and lost her sanity, leading to the catastrophe. While Riya drags black bags filled with the remains of astronauts off of the station, Brian advises her to forget what has occurred. The station is running on backup power supporting only minimal functions, and even the oxygen supply is virtually gone. Therefore, they must evaluate the planet immediately. Everything else, including the reasons of the calamity, no longer matters. Their first goal is to return to orbit, a feat not so simple, as the shuttle's course must align precisely with the ship's orbit. Concerned about Riya's condition, Brian notices her tiredness. She too feels exhausted and decides to take a short rest. However, her gaze rests on Kevin's lifeless body, and in that instant, she envisions a horrible, blood-soaked monster. The image quickly dissolves and Riya rushes back to the ship, blaming the occurrence on weariness. However, almost every object that could serve as a weapon reminds her of the horror that recently happened. Riya once again resorts to using a psychedelic patch. Later, the station is overwhelmed by a sandstorm. As she watches things unfold, Riya realizes that her memories are beginning to return, and she informs Brian of this development. Suddenly, the artificial intelligence announces a decompression event. Donning their spacesuits, the remaining crew members set out to locate the breach while sirens blare about severely low oxygen levels. Reaching the emergency compartment, they find clues that someone or something has been there. Hearing an odd noise, Riya follows it and discovers a break. But as she begins sealing it, she sees a distorted, grimacing face of Clark. Summoning all her strength, she fights off the nightmare image and completes the repair before returning to the living quarters. Brian speculates that Clark might have gotten some pathogen that prompted a mental breakdown, perhaps akin to rabies. However, Riya feels there are inconsistencies in his story. She is determined to unearth the truth and find Clark, but Brian warns her that they have lost 30% of their oxygen reserves and the next launch window will not open for another 5 hours. When Riya insists, he reminds her that any delay could consign them to death by asphyxia. All their crew's efforts would be in vain. He acknowledges he doesn't know what happened to Clark, but pledges they will get to the bottom of it. Riya retreats to her cabin, rewatching videos of her deceased companions and remembering Kevin, with whom she shared a profound affinity. Closing her eyes, Riya suddenly finds herself standing under an open sky. A drone camera points at her before soaring skyward. Looking around, she finds she is standing in the middle of a lovely meadow, clothed in an amazing gown and decorated with exotic jewelry. Sunlight dances around palm fronds, and not far away stands Kevin. Before him sits some sort of pipe, and when Riya appears inside, she sees the spiraling tube drawing her inward. Suddenly, Kevin shouts out in anguish. Riya sees him aboard the ship and awakens in tears. The woman finds historical footage of the expedition that had been studying this planet. The team judges the conditions satisfactory, and though they do not particularly long for Earth, they acknowledge that adjusting to the local landscapes will be tough. Soon, the astronauts find the cause of the anomalies Brian had spotted from orbit. It turns out to be a large underground tunnel filled with shimmering unknown objects. The astronauts understand these are terraforming installations creating the planet's atmosphere. One of the astronauts attempts to test the depth of the tunnels, but during the descent, an explosion happens. Bursts of light and whirlwinds of unknown substance shoot into the sky. Riya, frightened, realizes her comrades are dying. At that moment, Brian comes and seeing the tablet in her hands, regretfully reveals that the entire mission had gone missing. Riya demands answers. After all this time spent on the brink of crazy, he had known that the planet was being prepared for colonization. He argues that his mission was precisely to observe her, and he insists that despite her memory loss, she remains basically the same. Therefore, their objective is to escape first and then figure everything out. Unexpectedly, Riya confesses that she killed everyone without understanding why and that she cannot leave the station. She learns that the patches help her recall her memories, but Brian admits that he does not trust her current mental state. Their mission is to save humanity. They have discovered technologies capable of altering entire planets. This could change the fate of their entire race. Thus, executing the mission must remain their highest priority. In 2 hours and 39 minutes, they must launch no matter what. Riya has no choice but to obey. She begins preparing her luggage when Brian enters and replaces her patch, promising to return before departure. After he goes, Riya is overwhelmed by her longest memory yet. She sees herself in the laboratory, attacked by a deranged Audi. She attempts to defend herself, but he is too strong, his face twisted into a horrible grin. Grabbing a pair of scissors, Riya frantically stabs the astronaut's body. Suddenly, her power leaves her, and she collapses onto a bed. Bloody, distorted faces of her crew colleagues flash before her eyes, and she knows that the infection was widespread. She reaches out for Brian to report her discovery, but receives no response. Searching for him, she travels through the ship and finds Brian's lifeless body on the floor. Horrified, Riya hurries away only to encounter Clark in a spacesuit. Grabbing a blowtorch, she directs the flame onto her pal, setting the suit on fire. Clark shoves Riya away and activates the fire suppression system, then moves on her unhurt. A desperate struggle ensues. Clark locks Riya inside the shower booth, but Riya grabs a hose, puts it into Clark's helmet, and floods it with water. Clark drowns. Riya brings Clark's body to the medical facility and conducts a scan, but the bot identifies no injuries beyond lung damage from drowning. At that moment, the AI declares that the launch window to orbit is open. Riya discards another black sack into the wilderness outdoors and gazes at a dazzling star above. Their main ship still awaiting the crew in orbit. Returning to the station, she tries to start the launch procedure. After failing, she places 2 patches to her neck at once and recalls Brian. The bot analyzes his body and reports that he died 51 hours ago, something that should be impossible. Suddenly, the security system flags anomalous activity and the discovery of an unknown life form. Riya examines the ship again and finds a live Brian, recognizing it is the illness animating his body. Unexpectedly, Brian offers to show her something that will make her understand everything. Her recollections take her back to the moment when the astronauts returned to the station with a newly discovered substance located in one of the compartments. Riya hears her friends discussing the capture of the station by an unknown life form which had likely been studying them, waiting for the right opportunity to strike. When Addie suggests evaluating the station immediately to save the expedition, Riya becomes furious, for they had discovered what millions of astronauts had only dreamed of: extraterrestrial life. Moreover, this discovery could facilitate planetary colonization. Humanity could now inhabit new worlds without fearing hazardous atmospheres. Wearing a protective gear, she enters the polluted compartment and collects a sample. Study indicates it to be a technology consisting of self-replicating creatures. Suddenly, the sample escapes its container and attacks Audi. Riya stares in horror as a tentacle thing burrows into his body through his nostril. AI's face contorts and he tries to kill her. The rest of the team rushes to her cries. Clark tries to drag Riya away while Kevin inspects Audi, who suddenly attacks him. In a desperate struggle, Kevin kills Audi, but the parasite quickly transfers into Kevin's body. Now Kevin attacks Riya. Clark, still in her costume, tries to shield her, but Kevin mercilessly hits her until Brian appears paralyzed in amazement. Kevin focuses his attention toward Brian, giving Riya enough time to fit a helmet on Clark and send her for the escape pod. Unexpectedly, Kevin speaks to Riya and she pleads for forgiveness for what she is about to do. Watching Kevin mutate before her, she plunges a knife into his chest. The thing exits his body and enters Riya through the wound on her temple. Riya feels the presence of an alien consciousness within her. The AI announces parasite activity. A red alien organism pulses inside her mind. Riya realizes she can hear its voice. It claims the planet as its own and promises not to allow humanity to possess it. They plan to make Riya part of their legion. She refuses to join the alien collective, pulls off her patches, and runs to the hospital bay. After an examination, the parasite is located inside her head, and Riya agrees to have it removed. During the procedure, her heart stops, but the medical robot revives her while eliminating the parasite. Suddenly, Brian mutates, tentacles growing from his skull, and he rushes at her. Riya stabs him with a knife, but the creature keeps attacking. She snatches the blowtorch and incinerates him. The station erupts into flames. Clad in a protective gear, Riya evaluates the burning vessel. Reaching the escape pod, she ignites the engines and sets course for the main ship, her heart heavy with thoughts of her fallen comrades. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.